Regulation C has given us a fairly versatile format with not only a wide array of archetypes such as Tailwind, Trick Room, Palance, and many others being extremely viable, but we also have a versatile inclusion of what Pokemon can even be ran on these archetypes. With all the power creep that's come from Generation 9, one of the things that most people overlook is how good a strong support Pokemon can be. So today, I want to sing the song of these unsung heroes, and go over some of the strongest support Pokemon in Regulation C. Now, this won't necessarily be a top 5 list. I'm just sort of rambling on about what Pokemon I think are really strong, but hopefully you guys enjoy, and if you do and you want to see some more content like this, of course, make sure you leave a like and subscribe for more. And also let me know down below what your favorite support Pokemon is in Regulation C. With that said, as always, shoutouts to Kurt for editing today's video, and let's get right into our first support Pokemon. I want to start off with some support Pokemon that have been going up in viability as far as Regulation C goes, and then move into things that have either stayed strong or just stayed kind of average. One of the first clear-cut examples of this is none other than Gyarados. Now, Gyarados has been an incredible support Pokemon thanks to its ability to check Pokemon such as Tinglu and Palafin due to not only resisting their common stabs, and in Tinglu's case having an outright immunity to it, but also with its strong support options like Taunt, Thunder Wave, and even Helping Hand. It allows you to actually really ease your partner slots and make sure they can win at any high level of play. Gyarados also has an incredible matchup into most archetypes, and it's also one of the most splashable supports you can throw on a team right now. And honestly, I think that one of the things that people overlook the most is just how bulky this Pokemon is. With 95 HP, 79 defense, and 100 special defense, as well as the ability Intimidate to add onto your physical bulk, this goes above and beyond what it means to actually be checking Pokemon in such a physically skewed metagame. Despite Arcanine still probably being a slightly more versatile Intimidate option as far as movesets and team comps go, Gyarados still manages to stand out in this format with a strong defensive backbone as well as an incredible typing. I think a lot of players going into Generation 9 thought that Gyarados would have been more known for offensive sets with things such as Dragonance and Terra Flying with Terra Blast, or even a Terra Ground Earthquake build, but the offensive pressure that Palafin applies as well as the imminent threat of Fisher Tinglu against pretty much every team, it's honestly no surprise that Gyarados has managed to establish itself as probably one of, if not the best supporting pieces in the entire game. Speaking of Tinglu, an incredible support piece for Tinglu offensively this format, as well as just a really good support mod in general, has been none other than Bronzong. Now, Bronzong with the ability Levitate has been on the rise as a Trick Room option, both as a partner and an option to counter Tinglu, and it's a huge benefit for a lot of slower teams. Bronzong has the ability to use the options such as Terra Fire in order to take advantage of Levitate, while gaining a resistance to a lot of common Trick Room threats such as Torkoal and Armarouge that would otherwise use fire attacks to typically try and KO you. This has allowed Bronzong to become one of the strongest Trick Room setters, and it's not only a good support Pokemon, but also a really good setup option. With moves like Iron Defense and Body Press, Bronzong can put up a really strong fight against the majority of the metagame, and even make sure that you're unable to be KO'd outside of Trick Room to ease yourself getting it back up again. Outside of Trick Room support though, Bronzong still has a lot of other good moves, such as Safeguard, which allow Pokemon like Tinglu, Iron Hands, and other physical threats to avoid burns, as well as even moves like Helping Hand, which can boost your damage output and make sure that your partner slot is always KOing everything as quickly as possible. Trick Room especially benefits from this, because if you were to use a Helping Hand into a Pokemon such as Torkoal or Tinglu, this allows your spread moves to deal as much damage to everyone on the field as possible, meaning that you can KO as many Pokemon as quickly as possible while you have your very limited speed advantage. Bronzong has established itself as probably one of the strongest partners you can actually pair with an offensive Tinglu, and it's even led to movesets such as Choice Band or Citrus Berry with 3 attacks and Protect to become genuinely viable movesets in this metagame. While Bronzong can see success next to other Iron Hands and Torkoal, I do think that Tinglu is just what Bronzong needed to finally see Regulation C as not only its best format, but also as probably one of the best Trick Room threats in the entire game. On the opposite end of the spectrum, Regulation C also caused a very high surge in the usage of Jumpluff. While Jumpluff definitely has always been a strong contender in this format, due to its niche support roles in Sun with moves like Rage Powder and Tailwind, Jumpluff first saw huge tournament success in this series, despite Torkoal being a viable option in all 3. Teams that usually use Torkoal don't really have a reason to run Murkrow or Talonflame, so having the Jumpluff at the very least, while being a little bit less weak to rock than Talonflame and also having more unique support than Murkrow would provide, is a pretty sought after option. With access to not only Tailwind, but also strong moves such as Sleep Powder, Encore, Pollen Puff, Rage Powder, and many more, it's not actually hard to see that Jumpluff was a viable option in this generation. Jumpluff definitely will continue to see success in future formats. However, unlike a lot of Pokemon we'll mention today, I'm actually really unsure if it's going to continue to exactly adapt from here, even with new Pokemon coming into the format, just due to the fact that a lot of teams will be pretty similar off of Jumpluff. Despite Charizard and Walking Wake taking over potential 5th and 6th slot roles, I don't really think that Sun's playstyle can evolve much further than here, and it's already nearly perfectly optimized. With partners such as Eject Pack Torkoal, Specs Fluttermane, and Choice Scarf Great Tusk being nearly mandatory on any sort of offensive Sun archetype these days that's not hard Trick Room, while I'm unsure if there will be any innovation, at the same time though, I don't think this necessarily means that Jumpluff will suddenly become unviable, just due to the fact that the team built by Joe UX9 will probably at least still see some moderate success in future tournaments, and I can't see much actual decline in this team going forward. With the rise in screens in this format, one of the biggest rises was none other than Klefki. While Klefki isn't some exactly prolific option in this format compared to previous entries, it definitely does have a lot of benefits over other common screen setters in its ability to check Pokemon like Chien-Pao due to the steel typing. Not only this, but with the option to essentially resist every priority a move besides Jet Punch Palafin, you're in a pretty good position as a defensive utility Pokemon here. With your ability Prankster, you have a strong means to quickly get up both Light Screen and Reflect, as well as Thunder Wave in quick succession, while still having moves like Dazzling Gleam and Foul Play in order to justify your damage output on this Pokemon. We have seen the rise in Regulation C though of moves like Misty Terrain, which are not only important for clearing Psychic and Electric terrains, but it's also really good at supporting physical attackers to avoid Will-O-Wisp and Thunder Wave here. Klefki is a strong partner for Pokemon like Garchomp and Roaring Moon, and it enables them to become really good setup win cons in these sort of games due to the screens and Misty Terrain support here. While I don't think that Klefki by any means is exactly the best screen setter in this format, I definitely do think it's going to be an interesting new Pokemon to follow, and I assume that its success will only continue to go up from here in future formats. We have a lot of classic support threats that have still proven to be fairly noteworthy in Regulation C though, with one of the first and the most noteworthy among any support Pokemon being none other than Amoonguss. Now Amoonguss isn't exactly what I call a utility Pokemon, but it definitely does provide a lot of support due to its natural bulk, as well as things like the ability Regenerator and the ability to Terrestrial into a check to Pokemon such as Tyu and Torkoal that would otherwise shadow you. Amoonguss has a plethora of archetypes that it works on, and it's probably one of the most versatile support Pokemon in terms of where you'll find it. However, I do consider Amoonguss's versatility closer to that of Fluttermane instead of Pokemon like Landorus and Incineroar that get the versatility off of their movesets. This is mostly due to the fact that Amoonguss can fit on such a wide array of archetypes, and there's not exactly an incorrect team slot to run it on. However, with moves like Pollen Puff, Spore, Rage Powder, and Protect basically being the perfect moveset for it, it's really hard to get more flexibility out of this Pokemon other than through your Terrestrial or your item spot. Some teams do occasionally run moves like Clear Smog and Leaf Storm, but at the same time though, I don't really think that these are too helpful, as despite the fact that they can handle Dozo a little bit better, at the same time though, most Dozo typically these days run Terra Grass, and you'd rather just Pollen Puff this anyway. Mungus continues to probably be the strongest support Pokemon all generation, and even with the DLCs and the home Pokemon coming out, I can't really see this changing much. Moving on to our next support Pokemon, this is probably more so a duo, so I'm gonna have to go over this one in two parts, but going over one before the other just doesn't feel right. Going into our Snow Core, we do have a Abomasnow and Iron Bundle as the next entries. While neither of these Pokemon need to be support options, their ability to become offensive monsters as well as support pieces for both of each other, as well as their fellow teammates, lends them an entry on today's list. Starting off with Iron Bundle, this is a rather linear support option, with movesets consistently featuring moves such as Icy Wind, Encore, and Aurora Veil in order to cripple opponents. While they don't typically stack all three of these moves, usually you'll find Icy Wind with Freeze Dry in tandem with Protect and then one of Encore or Aurora Veil these days. With the boost energy speed, you're essentially going to outpace any Pokemon besides Choice Scarf, Dragapult, or Electrode, or your opponents being under Tailwind with some obnoxiously fast Pokemon. Now when you add on Icy Wind to the mix though, you can ensure that even bundle mirrors will typically underpace you, and this can be pretty valuable just to allow your bundle to be as fast as possible. With the ability to drop speed, you're also able to take better advantage of Encore, which can essentially lock your opponent to any move as long as it was the last one they clicked. And when you know what move your opponent clicked last due to the fact that they'll have attacked before you even choose Encore, it's no wonder to see why this move is so valuable. This also allows you an easy time to set up, though it's not the only way that Bundle can take advantage of opponents in order to set up more easily. Thanks to the move Aurora Veil, in tandem with your Abomasnow partner slot, this can allow you a dual screen for both Light Screen and Reflect with the use of a single move. While it certainly is viable in Abomasnow as well, and we even do see sometimes an Encore bundle next to a Broyles Abomasnow, at the same time, the support bundle does have a little bit better of a time using it slightly due to its high speed stat, allowing you to get off Veil before you even have to take a single hit. It's a pretty deadly pairing, but in order to truly understand why this combo is so threatening, we do need to understand what Abomasnow actually offers to this core. Abomasnow is not necessarily a mandatory partner for bundle, but it is definitely a strong one. Whether you're using it offensively or defensively, your ability to set Snow in order to boost your defense as well as bundle defense by one stage is already a huge start here. Beyond even pairing with other ice types though, Abomasnow's ability to clear opposing weather is already a huge support in itself. While you typically don't run a Stray Abomasnow with no reason to, unlike how you would with Tyranitar, at the same time though, Abomasnow can definitely benefit teams that might be weaker to Sun aspect just because you can clear the weather altogether. This can allow you to shift the position of most battles since usually most Sun Pokemon don't really end up doing as well without Sun, and unless if their Sunsetter is Murkrow with Prankster Sunny Day, you're typically in a good spot here. Besides weather though, Abomasnow still has a lot more to offer to teams. Through the use of Helping Hand and Aurora Veil, Abomasnow already makes a niche for itself because you can not only boost the damage of your setup Pokemon, but you can also support them with only a single screen, which does allow you a lot more ease in terms of running offensive options like Giga Drain, Leaf Storm, Blizzard, and even Protect as a covering slot in your fourth move. This essentially allows Abomasnow a luxury that most other screen setters don't have, because typically they would need to run 2 attacks to get the screens up, whereas Abomasnow only needs 1. This versatility between the Abomasnow and Iron Bundle movesets makes both of them so damning in this format, and it allows both to shine as really top tier supports, and that's honestly why this no core is as deadly as it is this generation. Despite both of these being ran on different teams, they do honestly cover a pretty similar niche, and they're usually ran for the same sort of purpose. So we're going to go into our Tailwind priority options next, being Talonflame and Murkrow. I do want to start off with Talonflame because this was considered probably one of the strongest offensive supports in all of Series 2, due to its access to priority Tailwind, but also priority Brave Bird through the ability Gale Wings. Now this does only work when Talonflame is at full health, but that's why Talonflame actually ended up being so good this format, because it can actually pretty easily keep up this full health this time around. Most movesets in Series 2 ended up consisting of Brave Bird, Taunt, Will-O-Wisp, and Tailwind. However, in Regulation C, moves like Quick Guard, Feint, Flare Blitz, and even Sunny Day have all popped up on Talonflame these days. Quick Guard is probably the best benefit that Talonflame now has going into Regulation C due to its ability to block Pokemon like Dragonite and Shampoo on lead, which is actually really huge, as this was probably one of the best offensive ways to pressure a Talonflame Great Tusk team. Not only this, but with the Covert Cloak as well as your Terra Ghost, you can not only use Terra Ghost to block priorities such as Fake Out and E-Speed from breaking your Gale Wings, but you even have the Covert Cloak, so in matchups against slower leads where you don't necessarily care about the priority Tailwind, you can still at the very least get off a fast Tailwind, and then ensure from there that you're still not getting flinched by Fake Out. This versatility in Talonflame, despite having some overlapping things in its Terra type and item, does allow it to actually be a pretty prolific offensive and support Pokemon in this generation. However, unlike Series 2, there's definitely a lot more of a case to be made for Murkrow's usage over Talonflame outright. Murkrow definitely managed to fall from grace in Series 2 due to the fact that a lot of Pokemon could just outright kill it. However, Regulation C is another story. Despite the fact that there's a lot better offensive threats, Murkrow does actually have a few key benefits over Talonflame that do allow it to actually stand out, with the huge elephant in the room, of course, being Prankster. Now, Prankster's by far the best defining trait that Murkrow has, allowing you to gain priority for the whole entirety of the game with moves such as Tailwind, Quash, Haze, Thunder Wave, Taunt, Sunny Day, Perish Song, Feather Dance, Scary Face, Screech, and even Torment. Despite not a lot of these seeing high amounts of play though, they're all genuinely viable options for support on Murkrow, allowing you to deal with a plethora of situations. And when your attack is foul play, which deals off of the opponent's attack stat, you don't even actually need to invest into any of your offenses just to keep up with the metagame. Probably the best moveset for Murkrow would consist of Haze, Sunny Day, Tailwind, and Foul Play, which is mostly ran with Pokemon such as Chiyu, Goldango, and any of the past Paradox Pokemon, allowing you to put up a strong Manual Sun option, which can help keep up with a lot of the weather setters that would otherwise switch in against Torkoal. Due to the rise of Pokemon such as Pelipper, Abomasnow, and Tyranitar all being really high usage, I think this is probably one of the best cases to run it, due to the fact that you can outright counter these Pokemon the second they switch in and then proceed to set your Sun. Having Sunny Day as a move will always allow you to gain field positioning here, and I think it's honestly really appreciated given how the current metagame is. Due to Murkrow's ability to not only provide one of the strongest speed control methods in Tailwind with Prankster, but also one of the best means of controlling the weather at any given time, it's no wonder to see why Murkrow actually ended up rising to its former glory in Series 3, and I look forward to seeing the success of Murkrow later on, because I honestly believe believe this might be one of the best support Pokemon in this generation. Keeping up with Tailwind, we do have a Pokemon that has seen a little bit of tournament usage in recent formats. However, thanks to the new presence of Ting-Lu, Vivion has become a really strong offensive support Pokemon. While I wouldn't say that Vivion's exactly a powerhouse, and it's definitely a fairly niche pick for sure, at the same time though, it's noteworthy enough to where I do think it needs to be addressed. Despite Vivion's awful stats, its support kit with moves such as Tailwind, Pollen Puff, Rage Powder, Struggle Bug, Sleep Powder, and even Safeguard, in tandem with its incredible ability of Friend Guard, allow you to make yourself into an amazing support piece next to Ting-Lu and even Iron Hands as well. Vivion changes Ting-Lu from having to be an Assault Vest tank to being an incredible offensive monster, and most teams with this core end up even running something like a Choice Band or a Citrus Berry Ting-Lu in tandem with the Bronzong that I mentioned earlier. Now, another partner that is typically ran on these teams is the Snow Core, so it's essentially just a heavy support team for Ting-Lu that provides a lot of different options such as Auroraville, or you have Bronzong with Trick Room, or you even have the Pollen Puff Vivion, which proves to be a really big menace on this team. While Mousehold definitely can do some good work, and arguably you might even be able to say it's a little bit better due to Follow Me not being blocked by both Safety Goggles and Grass types, I do think it's the fact that Mousehold lacks a Heal Pulse or Pollen Puff sort of move that is the reason that I would actually specifically use Vivion as a partner with Ting-Lu. Now, I don't exactly think this is going to be some meta call or anything, but it's definitely a really fun strategy that I recommend anyone at home try. And on top of this as well, I do also think that it is pretty terrifying to prep against, and I wanted to make sure it was at least on your guys' radars because I definitely did not appreciate this enough going into Hartford, and it's the reason I missed out on day 2 in the regional. Speaking of Friend Guard Pokemon, it's finally time to address the best one, that being of course Mousehold, one of our new Generation 9 additions. Mousehold honestly is still doing Mousehold things in Regulation C, but probably one of the biggest standout moments for it was by far the introduction of the international challenges. Now, Mousehold has established itself as probably one of the biggest headache Pokemon in the entire international challenge, even up there with the likes of Chiyu and Fluttermane, due to the fact that you're not only playing in a best of 1 format, but it's also closed sheet. This allows Mousehold actually the benefit to be an extremely strong bluff Pokemon, because Friend Guard and Technician have such different counterplay. Even when you consider the partner slots, you can't get a lot of information out of this because both abilities typically run a lot of the same partners due to the fact that it's really just Mousehold plus good Mons and Annihilape. And Annihilape is also a good partner to Technician Mousehold. Even as far as the movesets go, you can't immediately tell either unless they click Population Bomb, and even that's occasionally being ran on Friend Guard sets these days. Most movesets though for Friend Guard will typically run Faint, Follow Me, Super Fang, and Protect, whereas the Technician Wildland sets will typically run Follow Me, Population Bomb, Encore, and Protect. And that's not to say that these moves can't overlap even further, but already just off of common moves alone, we already see 2 out of 4. On top of this as well, you essentially need to make sure that you scout how much damage the partner slot is taking before you can get any information on this core unless you lose a Pokemon already. Even with most of their moves being similar, the small tweak in the ability and stab though changed drastically any sort of plays you actually have to make to counter on this, because typically a Friend Guard Mousehold you would want to take out first. However, sometimes you can't get that luxury because it will try and play a little bit more defensively, but the second that you let it try and play defensively, you're kind of screwed. There's so many 50-50s, and especially when you partner this next to Annihilape, which is such a huge snowball mon anyway, it's no wonder to see why Annihilape and Mousehold were one of the best cores in the IC, and why Mousehold proved to be one of the strongest Pokemon you could run in the International Challenge. Despite there probably being a million other support Pokemon I missed in today's list, I do want to highlight one more, being Indeedy-Female. Now, Indeedy-Female typically was partnered with Armarouge, and it enabled Psyspam to become a really terrifying competitive playstyle. However, this changed in Regulation C due to the rise of this scary Ruin Pokemon, as well as the fact that there's still so much priority that you kind of just need to run Indeedy without Armarouge, and it's honestly still really good. With access to moves like Follow Me, Helping Hand, Trick Room, and Heal Pulse, Indeedy proves to be a really strong standout support Pokemon as far as a defensive utility mon goes. Indeedy definitely stands out as one of the 2 Trick Room options that can outright stop priority, and unlike Farigiraf, your toolkit is a lot better at doing so, due to the fact that you're able to actually enable your partner slot a lot better, rather than just blocking priority here. Now, Indeedy definitely is the epitome of what I would consider a good support Pokemon, due to the fact that it doesn't necessarily need to play like Amoonguss does in terms of being an outright wall, but you also don't need to use it just to bluff offense or make your offense sets more potent just because of the threat of support, whereas something like Mousehold would maybe be doing more of that sort of thing. Instead though, Indeedy just focuses on making its partner win, which in my eyes is the perfect way to round out what it means to be a support Pokemon here. Now hopefully you guys all managed to learn something new today, and if you did, make sure of course you like and subscribe to stay up to date on future content, as I love doing these informational videos for you guys weekly. Also, shoutouts to Kurpie who edited this video and did an incredible job with it, but also our channel members who go the extra mile to support so I can actually afford to hire Kurpie. With that said, if you want to become a channel member today, it's a couple dollars a month for 2 extra videos every month, as well as extra emotes and badges. For our current channel members, of course, we do have Josh, aka Ultra Player, Mia, Zeke Zero, Bbat, Onitapur, Timo Mueller, Fonzie, Bambambi, Rao Plays, Obo, and Johannes B. Thank you guys for the support on the channel. I greatly appreciate it. And with that said, I'll see you guys Wednesday, where we're going to do a video discussing all of the new home Pokemon and ranking them from best to worst. Until then, peace out, guys.